Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Bolton. My name is Josh Kelly, and I'm the town administrator here. And I would like to give you an update on a number of different things that have been happening around town and around our community. So as has become tradition over the past few sessions, as some of you know, this program occurs on the first and third Tuesdays of every month. And we took a little hiatus between March and the middle of the summer to make sure that the town was taking the appropriate time and I was taking the appropriate time that I needed to address issues around the COVID-19 pandemic. And now that I'm able to be back here in the facility by myself without a guest, unfortunately for the moment, but doing our best to be safe, I want to make sure that you have all of the resources and all of the knowledge that you need in order to continue to stay safe in these troubling times. So, as has become tradition, I'll give you these COVID-19 updates first and foremost. So tomorrow night we will continue along our track with our summer concert series out on the Library Green. We have the band Acoustic Anomaly that's going to be joining us from 6:30 p.m. until 8 p.m. Again, that's out on the Library Green right in front of the gazebo. Admission is free, but space is limited. We are under the governor's orders to make sure that we have no more than 100 individuals out on the Library Green. That number was determined in concert with the governor's orders, as well as in concert with the spatial regulations that he's put forward. So to make sure that everybody's safe, we ask that everybody please, you'll bring your own chairs and blankets as usual. Make sure that they're spread at least 15 feet apart between family units, and enjoy yourself. I recommend that you get there as early as possible to get the best seats possible. And beyond that, I really hope that you take advantage of this opportunity. I believe that there are a few more concerts coming up towards this summer, but again, this one is happening tomorrow, August 19th at 6:30 p.m. In general, most regulations remain the same from when I last spoke with you 2 weeks ago. That means 25 people at indoor activities is the maximum limit. 100 people at outdoor gatherings remains the maximum limit, except in terms of graduation ceremonies or in case of religious ceremonies. If you're looking for updated information after today, August 18th, please go online. We have a full COVID-19 resource page on the Town of Bolton's website. There are also resource pages available for you on our local health department website. That's the Eastern Highlands Health District, or ehhd.org, the CDC website, or of course the state of Connecticut's resource page on their website. Indian Notch Park remains closed for the season. I hope that you all continue to understand that due to the simple size and the nature of that park, there would only be able to be a handful of people that would be able to safely be on that beach before it became overcrowded and before it really became a hotspot for potential COVID transmission. So that park remains closed. It is being patrolled on the weekends. Please do everybody a favor and stay home. We are currently spending a chunk of money to make sure that that park is patrolled and that there is not a high level of activity and transmission there. For you taxpayers, we want to make sure that those costs remain as low as possible. All of our other parks and trails are open at this time, so please get outdoors, make use of it. I know that we have some beautiful weather coming up, and especially I know I've appreciated the last few days of some cooler weather where it's really felt nice to get outside. Herrick Park Lodge is now open to the public so long as individuals remain cognizant of the governor's guidelines. That means if you're looking to rent the lodge, please contact the Selectman's office. That number is 860-649-8066. The extension you'll want to call is 6111. And once you call that number, you'll be able to rent the lodge. The maximum number of people who can be indoors at any one time is 25. So we recommend, if you're looking to do an event there, that you're considering an indoor-outdoor hybrid event, or you're keeping those numbers strictly low. And anybody interested in renting that lodge will be required to sign a form stating that they will be responsible for complying with all of those guidelines. As many of you know, students will be heading back to school in just a few weeks here. The first day of school for kids with last names A through K will be September 2nd, and the first day of school for individuals with the last name L through Z will be September 3rd. Bolton Public Schools reopening plan working draft is available on boltonpublicschools.com, and it's very comprehensive. I've had the chance to look through it and to speak with the superintendent about it. This working plan contains information about the learning plan overview that they're going to be taking, the fact that they are going to be using a hybrid model from the beginning of school, at least through that first month of schooling, that they have possible plans in the future to bring everybody into the building, and they have possible plans in the event of increased transmission of COVID-19 to go back to a fully virtual model. They do have sections within that plan about health monitoring, about containment plans, and much more. If you have a student who's going to Bolton Public Schools, or if you're somebody who works there especially, I really recommend that you take a look at that plan. Our school administrators and the school staff have spent a lot of time in committees and talking and working with state officials to make sure that this is going to be as cutting edge as possible, and that they're going to be using every available resource to make sure that your students stay safe, your children stay safe, and that you are able to stay safe as we look to bring a little bit more normalcy back into our kids' lives. Now, off the subject of COVID-19, but on the subject of emergency operations, the last time I had the chance to sit down and talk with you was immediately before the most recent tropical storm. In response to that tropical storm, as many of you know, over 95% of Bolton was without power for multiple days. And while a lot of those circumstances were very frustrating, trust me, I was the recipient of many of your phone calls. I really appreciate you all taking time and taking patience in working with us. We had thousands of homes to address, and certainly dozens, if not hundreds, of complaints that we needed to address in a very short time manner, not just on the town side of things, but also on the sewer side of things. And I want to thank all of the volunteers who came out to help distribute water on the Saturday after the storm. And I want to thank the town employees who continue to go around town dismantling trees that fell, whether it was from town property onto your property, into the road, or what have you. We have a lot of folks who are continuing to work on recovery efforts, and I want to take a moment to really share my appreciation for those individuals as they continue to work. Now, many of you do continue to have brush that fell on your lawn from trees that you own. If you are in need of it, the Herrick Park parking lot has a brush pile that is currently accepting collections. That's current as of August 18th. For an update going forward, if you're wondering if that collection site is closed, please check our website. The homepage at bolton.govoffice.com will have information updated as we go along. So enough about emergency operations. I'm hoping that as we go along with this fall, the COVID hospitalization rate continues to fall in Connecticut. I was very heartened to see those numbers come out of the governor's office yesterday. I believe we had either 11 or 13 hospitalization decrease, and we're now at our lowest level since March. I hope that these become side thoughts rather than something that I need to share with you up front and too regularly, and that I can start to focus a little bit more on the very important issues that are facing Bolton today, and address some of the projects that I think all of us are very inspired to hear happening within town, and to really make some progress in these areas. So at the last Board of Selectmen meeting, the Board of Selectmen met on August 11th. It was moved back a week, so just to last Tuesday, a week ago today, and that was moved from the first Tuesday when it usually is because of the storm. And at that meeting, we covered a number of different subjects. First and foremost was the thought that was brought forward by a Bolton resident, that we should be changing up the way that we do crosswalks. Bolton is a very small community. It's very vibrant. It's very tight-knit. And the thought here is that there are a lot of areas around town that look standard. We have traffic laws and we have certain regulations that dictate around the state and the country, not just in Bolton, what a traditional crosswalk looks like. But there are a lot of different communities. For example, I know over in Simsbury, they've had the chance to make use of this technique to brighten up and make more vibrant the community by having a very colorful or perhaps a designed crosswalk. Some individuals, or some towns I should say, have, instead of a white pattern going across a certain street, they might make use of a rainbow color. They might add words within the middle of the crosswalk to help inspire folks as they go through town, and to help make it a little bit more of a tourist attraction too, to help bring people into our community to say, hey, Bolton's great, Bolton's beautiful, and this is a place that I am drawn to. And the subject of crosswalks, it was discussed by the Board of Selectmen. There are some safety concerns that we need to consider. Of course, if you're a motorist and you're driving through town, and you're trying to avoid pedestrians, one of the key visual indicators that you're going to be looking for is that traditional white pattern. And there's a concern amongst the board that we shouldn't veer too far from that traditional white pattern. But there is still an interest in trying to make the community seem a little bit more festive. And as a result of that, I will be working with our town engineer to develop an estimate for how much would it cost even to look into some of these projects, such as creating colored crosswalks or design crosswalks. Unfortunately, at the Board of Selectmen meeting, we also discussed the annual farmers market. Those of you who know, the farmers market usually takes place on the last Saturday in August, and that's been a tradition of the past several years, if not even longer. I know that when I went last year, I had a tremendous time. There were a lot of people there, and that made it very exciting. There were a lot of vendors there, which certainly made it a draw for the community. And it's because of its past success and because of so many cancellations of events around us, that we're afraid it would simply draw in too many people, and it would be a very hot spot for community transmission of COVID-19. The annual farmers market at this point has been canceled. We're very much looking forward to 2021. We're looking forward to a vaccine in the hopes that we can bring all of these events, not just the farmers market, but our birthday events. The 300th plus one is what I've been hearing a lot of residents call what we're hoping to put on next year, when we'll be able to bring what would have been our 300th anniversary events back with a real bang. Another item that was covered at the Board of Selectmen meeting this past Tuesday was the item of our treasurer. Our treasurer, Kay Peterson, who's been involved in Bolton government for over 50 years. She did submit her resignation. She's retiring from Bolton, and she has stepped away as of August 1st. And the board did act to appoint the Chief Financial Officer, Jill Collins, to be the treasurer of the town of Bolton. So congratulations to Kay Peterson on her retirement, and thank you for all of your years of service. And congratulations to Jill Collins on the new appointment. There were several other appointments that were made. All of those can be found in the minutes, which can be read on bolton.govoffice.com. And the last item that I'll talk about today, there were many items covered at the Board of Selectmen meeting, and we do have a recording of that posted online, as well as the minutes that will be posted soon. And one of the other key items that was discussed was the fact that it's almost been a year since I have started working with the Board of Selectmen to create a series of goals, not just for myself, but for the town. And some of those past goals included the creation, the development, and the execution of a townwide survey. Many of you participated in, and thank you for that. And many of you have now had the chance to read the summary of that townwide survey. If you haven't had the chance to read that, there's a link to it on the side, one of the side panels on our website under Community Surveys. Other goals that I had decided upon with the Board of Selectmen last year included the kicking off a branding campaign for the town, expanding and updating policies, expanding web and social media presence and responsiveness, cutting costs and increasing income, and a lot more. In a lot of these cases, I've been very successful. Obviously, I already discussed the townwide survey. with the branding campaign, while it's been slow to start, and unfortunately COVID-19 has delayed some of the meetings that we would have otherwise been having on a regular basis, we have assembled a focus group to assist with the branding campaign, and we have found a designer. So I'm very excited that we have the team in place. We have a lot of, I think, very excited ideas that will be brought forward for community participation at some point during this process. In terms of expanded web and social media presence, this is something that I've been talking with our newly hired media coordinator about quite a bit recently. Since this time last year, our Facebook presence alone has expanded by more than 7.5 times its own size. We now have 5 new social media platforms that we utilize, including Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, and more. And in terms of cutting costs, we were able to give taxpayers a tax decrease this past year, despite the I think, very challenging times that we're facing, and the fact that there are a lot of institutions that need more money rather than less money in order to combat COVID-19 effectively. We were still able to deliver that tax decrease. We've been able to increase income with while applying for certain grants, including a grant from the National Park Service that I had a call about this past week. I'm very excited to be working with them to help with some event planning, as well as some expanded signage over at the Bolton Heritage Farm. In terms of updating policies, we have adopted a new financial policy handbook, and there are also a few goals that we haven't been quite as successful at. The one that comes to mind most notably for me that I had set for myself last year was to really get a handle on the conversation around the town hall expansion. For those of you who have been in town hall, you know that the main meeting room has 4 different cubicles in it that are all being used on a regular basis, and we aren't using the space the way it was originally intended to be used at this point. We need more space. We need more space for employees. We need more space for the public to be able to come in and make use of. And overall, the selectmen over the past several years have decided that it's time to either expand town hall to some extent or create a new town hall. That's not a subject that we were able to move forward as much as I would have liked this past year. And that means that we're going to have to double down this next year and really make it a priority. So my question for all of you who are watching today is, what goals do you feel that I should focus on? And what goals do you wish the town and the Board of Selectmen would give more consideration going forward? If you have ideas on this, you can reach me at 860-649-8066. My personal extension is 6115, and you're welcome to make use of that at any time. I also want to give you the opportunity to send me an email. I know oftentimes it's easier for me to go through my email than it is voicemails or to take your call in real time. And you can reach me at townadmin@boltonct.org. And if you have any ideas, even if they aren't necessarily firm, numeric, data-driven targets for these goals, if you have ideas on areas that we should be exploring that you really feel aren't part of our current conversation and our dialogue here in town, please share them with me. We can't act, and we can't even know that we should be thinking about these items if you don't bring them to our attention and if folks in the community aren't talking about them. So I want to really encourage you to reach out, and if you have questions, I'm happy to answer them. And at the September meeting, the September Board of Selectmen meeting is going to be following my next presentation. So I will have the chance to come and speak to you here on the Administrator's Report one more time before that next board meeting. And maybe I'll have the chance to tell you about some of my possible goals then. But at that next board meeting on September 1st, I will be working with the Board of Selectmen to adopt those goals. Last year I had 12 goals for myself. This year it may be a little bit more focused in an effort to really make some action happen on a select number of goals. And I encourage you to tune into that meeting to hear a little bit more about what the board may be deciding for its own set of goals for the year. So that really covers the Board of Selectmen meeting on August 11th. And the next item that I want to talk to you about, and that will take us to the close of today's administrator's report, is going back to that four-town economic vitality report that came out. That report came out just about 2 weeks ago. I know I had the chance to share a little bit about it when we last spoke, but I had the chance to print out and read the entirety of the recommendations section of that report. And that recommendation section, it spans from page 11 all the way to page 58. And that's, again, out of a 98-page report. That's a lot of recommendations to go through. And I want to go through each of these different sections of recommendations piece by piece with you so that you can understand a little bit more without having to read all of the nitty-gritty details, what it is that we're hoping to do with this report, how it's going to be executed and implemented, and perhaps even finding some ways for you to get involved with the implementation. And overall, the goal is to try and make Bolton as economically vibrant as possible, to integrate it and connect it more with the other towns that were a part of this study. And those towns were, excluding Bolton, were Coventry, Mansfield, and Tolland. And to liven up the community for our residents as well. This isn't simply about tourism. This isn't simply about drawing folks in. This is about making your quality of life all of the better and making sure that you have opportunities here that they have throughout the rest of the state. So the first section that they highlight within this recommendation section of the four-town economic vitality report is outdoor recreation. And the first key point that the writers of this report, and that was written by Advanced CT, which is a nonprofit organization, is that we need to inventory our assets. And so their idea is that once a list of assets is created for each town, a regional map showcasing locations, and these are locations of recreational facilities. For example, our senior center may be a part of that, certainly our parks, our trails, as well as other private recreational facilities, the adventure park at Stores, for example, or Matt's Paintball over in some of our other towns would be included in this. Marley Golf as well over on Route 44. And these could be compiled, placed on that regional map so that when individuals come to a regional website, an economically driven website, that would be able to help drive folks and show folks where they would have the opportunity to participate in these recreational activities. Hopefully bringing more individuals into Bolton to spend money, to support our local businesses, to bring in new businesses, but also for your convenience and entertainment. I know that I've now been in Bolton for over a year, and there are still a lot of businesses that I haven't had the chance to stop into, that I haven't had the chance to make use of. And I'm certainly excited about the prospect of learning more about businesses, not just in Bolton, but throughout the area. But I really want to make a concerted effort to support locally instead of driving further away to support businesses that I know about just because I don't have the awareness of our more local entrepreneurs. They also encourage us to invest in recreational infrastructure. So that means that they want more highly visible advertising to occur within our recreational structure. They want all of our recreational activities to be easy to access. And they want to make sure that smaller investments are also not overlooked. And those smaller investments, they include benches, trash cans, trail markers, signage, and other very simple but key amenities that our trails and our parks desperately need. They encourage us to grow and attract complementary businesses. Some examples of complementary businesses in this sense include bike sales and repair shops, watercraft sales and rental shops, sporting goods shops, cross-country ski shops, ice cream shops, and the like. They also really encourage us for a number of different reasons to expand on lodging. And I think that this is really important. As some of you know, I'm relatively new to my position, and in my time here, I've had reason to look for a home to rent, a home to buy, and quite a bit more while I've been working in and trying to live in Bolton. There aren't a lot of homes for rent. There aren't a lot of Airbnbs, and there isn't a motel or a hotel in town. And that's true for a few of the towns within this report that participated within this study. Perhaps Mansfield being the key exception, given that the university is there. But overall, there isn't a lot of opportunity for students, graduate students, for example, from the university to be able to make their home here. And there's a high cost, a high barrier to entry to come live within the Bolton community. If you're not going to be a homeowner, it's pretty hard to find an opportunity to be here. And to some extent, it's certainly very nice to have a community where you know your neighbors. It's very level and routine. But on the other hand, it's very difficult to try and grow a community, a more vibrant community, and bring in new business when there aren't as many opportunities for individuals to live here. So, and not just live here, but also to visit with hotels and motels and lodges and anything else that might come to pass. They encourage us to engage the community more on the subject of recreation and to partner strategically with organizations like land trusts, like the Last Green Valley, UConn's College of Agriculture. All of these are organizations that could really help, that could really work alongside our recreation departments and even our senior centers, things of that nature, to provide programming for you, to provide programming for visitors to our town, and to make sure that we are providing all the resources and all of the opportunities that could be found in a larger town. Agriculture was another very large area that they encouraged us to take a look at. They, again, want us to be inventorying assets and to be creating a map of our agricultural assets, specifically assets where the public can come and visit, whether it be a farm stand, whether it be more of your agritourism. There are a lot of opportunities for the public to get involved and get interested and invested in agriculture, and to make sure that this land remains preserved for that purpose as well. So there are a lot of benefits to promoting agriculture in the area, and I think that this will be a very key component of the report for Bolton, and trying to figure out how Bolton will fit into the larger framework for the report as it's been presented. One of the specific ideas that came out of the agricultural section of this recommendation is to create community gardens, and that's not something that Bolton has. We have certainly a number of very large farms here in town, and there are community gardens located within other communities, and some folks even take the opportunity to farm in their backyard or have a small garden. But for other individuals where either their land simply isn't in the right condition to garden as much, or if they simply don't have enough land to make good use of what they have, we want to provide as much of an opportunity for them to grow food, to engage with that type of recreation, and to learn about self-sustenance and taking care of a garden of food, their own food supply. So we have considered a number of different times over just my past year here, locations where such a community garden could go. And we have a few different opportunities, I think, moving forward to make that a reality. Now, I'm being told that I don't have too much time left, so I want to make sure that you have all of the information about this report that you want to have. So I'll share a little bit more in 2 weeks. I'm also hoping very much that I'll have the opportunity to bring in a guest to join me in 2 weeks, and I want you to know that I'm staying as safe as possible, and I want you to continue being as safe as possible as well. So my guest will not be coming here into the studio. My guest will be joining me either live via Zoom, or it will be part of a recorded event that I'm able to share with you. But in any case, I want to make sure that we're continuing to connect, not just with me in Town Hall, but with the Bolton community at large. And I want to make sure that you're getting all of the news that you need. So I'll be working with staff here at CVC. I really want to thank everybody at CVC, all the volunteers, for making this program a possibility. And I look forward to working with them to safely bring in this guest. So thank you for your time, and enjoy your afternoon, Bolton.